It was one of those nights when I kept tossing and turning, but sleep still eluded me. I finally gave up and went downstairs to have a snack and read a magazine, which is exactly what I was doing when my 15-year-old son walked in. It was 1:30 a.m., and he was bleary-eyed from playing games on his computer. I thought he had gone to bed when he had arrived home early from the party, at midnight. Goes to show how much I know. "What you reading, Dad?" "Not much." If I had learned anything from raising two teenagers, it was that even when they asked what I was up to, they were never really interested in what I was doing. Then, pointing at my plate, I asked him, "Want some leftover pie? It's good." "Sure." "Dad, how do you know if you're ready for sex?" I did my best not to choke on the piece of pie in my mouth. I swallowed and caught my breath, and then I remembered that the last time I had checked, my son didn't even have a girlfriend. I had 20 questions rolling around my head, and even more ready to go lectures. Instead, I managed to stop myself. "Where's this coming from? Did you meet somebody?" All right, we could have done without that second question. "No, I didn't meet anybody. It's just that everyone seems to be doing it these days." I knew that the old, "if Johnny jumped off the cliff, would you jump too?" was way out of line, so I said nothing. I just looked back at my little boy, who clearly wasn't so little anymore. After a moment, I looked down at my remaining pie and noticed that I was playing with my food. Silence. Then an amazing thing happened. John began to open up. He told me about how a few of his friends had girlfriends, and he missed hanging out with these guys. About how he wanted a girlfriend too, and was beginning to think something was wrong with him, about sex, and his curiosity about what it was like. He went on like this for 10 minutes. All I did was listen. Early in his monologue, I had realized that my job was to stay quiet and pay attention. To say the least, it was difficult. Finally, when he had finished his second piece of pie, he headed back to his video games as if we had just been talking about the weather. Now I was wide awake, and I knew that in a few moments my wife would be wide awake with me because there was no way I could go to sleep without waking her and talking this through. At first pass, the shocking pace and self-revelation in this conversation almost makes it seem unbelievable. Believe it. But believe this story only because it occurs late at night, when teenagers act in some rather uncharacteristic ways, especially around their parents. That is, this kind of conversation could never take place when your teenager gets home from school, or at a Sunday brunch, or while cleaning up the dishes after dinner. No, what makes this story the stuff of real life is that it takes place late at night. Adolescent sleep. Adults and teenagers have very different sleep-wake cycles. And once you understand these differences, you can use them to enhance your relationship with your teenager. Taking this approach to heart means checking your world and sleep at the door to cross over temporarily into your teenager's world of time and biological rhythms. Midnight and beyond is the time of deep conversation for most adolescents, even though for most of their parents it is the occasion of much-deserved REM sleep. The average teenager needs just over 9 hours of sleep every night, even though the average teenager gets just over 6 hours. Research shows that adolescents have a different circadian rhythm, sleep-wake cycle, than adults. This biological difference leaves them feeling awake later in the evening and, as a result, unable to fall asleep at the earlier bedtimes of childhood. Most teenagers don't get sleepy until around 11 p.m., which, of course, means they are dragging in the morning when the alarm rings at 6:30 a.m. Falling asleep at 11 p.m. on the button and rising at 6:30 a.m. sharp still means only 7.5 hours of sleep, or 90 minutes shy of what the average teenager requires. Research conducted at the University of Minnesota indicated that over half the teenagers studied reported feeling most awake after 3 p.m., and that 20% claimed they fell asleep in school. This comes as no surprise, given what time of night they fall asleep and what time in the morning they wake up.